Hey everybody, it's Carolyn Bloom from Bloom Handmade Studio. I'm so happy to be back on the channel here today to bring you up to speed on everything that's been happening here in the studio and some exciting things that have yet to come. I don't know what it's like where you all are right now, but in New York, it is not just sweater weather, it is even wear your hand knits while inside weather. I am in Sleepy Hollow, New York, which is about a half an hour north of Midtown Manhattan, home of Vogue Knitting Live, and about an hour south of Rhinebeck, which is where, of course, the annual Sheep and Wool Festival takes place. And I gotta tell you that the wind coming off of the Hudson River today is impressive. And in our apartment, aka my studio space, it's a little chilly. So I am wearing my go-to wrap when I'm inside and cold. This is actually a design of mine called Cabriolet, which is a two-color brioche project that was inspired by the car, the Cabriolet, that used to be owned by my good friend who would give me a ride to school in the morning. And I thought about this wrap this design because when we would get started in the winter, all of the windows would be up and the top of the convertible would be up and we'd be hunkered down and cold. And that's where this straight 2x2 color brioche comes into play. But then as spring started to set in and the weather started to get warmer, we might crack a window, and that window being cracked is represented in a cable being added in one column of the wrap. And then as it got a little warmer, another window might be cracked. And then as it got a little more warm, more windows would come down. And then finally by the summertime, and it's really beautiful in southeastern Ohio where I grew up, you can see it here, all of the columns have cabling to it. And this is to represent the top is down and the windows are rolled down and it's a beautiful day. And probably school is out and we're on our way to go do something more fun than being in school. So this is Cabriolet. This is one of my designs and I knit it with Akara Yarns. This is her organic fingering weight. And I just love Rosemary's Eye for Color. And this base, her organic base, is such a delight to knit with. It's got wonderful squish and it's delightfully soft. So even against my bare neck, I love wearing this particular wrap. And as you can see, it's really generously sized so that I'm feeling pretty snuggly even on a cold day like today. So even though I've been opening up this podcast by talking about knitting, today is actually going to be all about crochet. The reason for it is that I'll be teaching my second class up at Espace Tricot early on in January of 2021. I taught my first class just a couple weeks ago and it was all about embroidery on stockinette, and I had a really wonderful time connecting with 50 students up there, actually from all around the world, through Zoom and imparting what I know about embroidery on stockinette. And in talking with Naomi and Lisa and Melissa up there, we were thinking that we don't want those crocheters to be feeling left out. And so I've been working on embroidery on single crochet techniques and how to combine those two techniques together. And today's podcast is going to be all about imparting how to make this single crochet swatch, which has some nice components to it, some pretty basic crochet skills that are good to have, including how to chain, how to work single crochet, how to raise your rows in single crochet. So I'm going to show you how to start one row and go on from there. And then also how to work a pretty perimeter to make all of your edges look nice and smooth. And the reason for that is I've been working on creating different crochet motifs to make that little swatch look so pretty. So this will be a nice way to practice not only your crochet, but also if you take the class with me through Espace Tricot in January, how to convert this vanilla swatch into something really beautiful and something that could be really turned into a nice coaster. So I'm working on some new motifs. I'm hoping to have at least 3, possibly 4 to teach during that class. And so stay tuned for more on what those motifs will actually look like. but today I want to teach you all of the components that you'll need to actually do the crocheting, including how to hold your yarn, how to hold your hook, how to work a chain, how to work single crochet, and so on and so forth, so that you as a non-crocheter can participate in this class. While I have you here, I just want to mention the yarn that I'm using for these coasters, and that is this butterfly. Let's see if you all can see that. It's this butterfly DK weight cotton, which is from Greece. This was sent to me by Espace Tricot, and I had done a lot of crocheting with cotton probably 7 or 8 years ago when I went on a dishcloth bender, and I made dishcloths for our family and friends and just really enjoyed knocking those out one after another. And I will confess that by the time I finished making all of those, boy, my hands were kind of hurting. And so when Melissa suggested that I use cotton for this project, I was a little resistant because I thought, I kind of remember what that feels like working with that fingering weight cotton. And I was hesitant, but I think she's brilliant. And when she suggested it, especially since we're working on something for the home, cotton is a natural choice. I thought, well, trust her, go with it. And so they sent me down beautiful cotton of this brand. This is the cream colored. I have the deep navy here, and then I have this lighter blue here, and then this pink that I believe is actually a different brand. This is a linen that they have in stock, which I really love the color of. And so I've been enjoying working with this. I think there's something different, obviously different, about working with DK versus fingering. And even though I have made countless coasters at this point, no hand pain, no issues whatsoever. And I'm even on a pretty small hook for this kind of weight of yarn, and I've still not had any problems. So I can't say enough things about this kind of cotton. It is Butterfly Super 10 cotton, and this is the cream color, this cream that I'm using most of the time. And it's 125 grams, which is terrific. And it is 22 stitches over 10 centimeters. So if you don't have access to this, you'll want to try and find a DK cotton if you want to take the class with me, or if you want to make coasters. If you don't have that and you just want to learn the basics of crochet, don't worry about it. Grab what you do have and find a crochet hook that would be similar in millimeter size to the knitting needle that you would use to knit that yarn. So for me and for this coaster project, we're going to be on a size F hook, and we're going to be using DK cotton from Espace Tricot. So by the time you're done with this podcast, even if you're new to knitting, you'll know how to work each of the sections needed to make this coaster so that you'll be ready to take the embroidery class next month with Espace Tricot via Zoom. To sign up for that class, please visit their website and register online to do so. Let's see, anything else I need to just remind you of here? We've got the kind of yarn that we're going to do. We've got the elements for it. I think we're good to go. Oh, I know what it was. If you want to revisit any of the parts that I'm telling you about today, I'm going to timestamp each step down below in the show notes. So if you want to see that beginning part one more time, no worries. You can just go right back into the past in this video and watch the part that you need. So check out those show notes for all of the information, such as the yarn behind this wrap, where to find the pattern for this wrap, where to find the yarn for the coaster that I'm making, the link for Espace Tricot, as well as the timestamps for each component that I'm going to be teaching you about today. So thanks for tuning in, and of course, thank you so much, Melissa and Lisa, for the opportunity to teach up there. I really do love your shop and being able to teach through your online classes. Okay, let's hop on into crochet basics. Before we get started with techniques, the first thing I want to talk about is what hook I'm using. This is an F hook, which is a 3.75 millimeter hook. And this is, of course, the DK cotton that I had mentioned in the introduction. If you were making something other than a coaster, I would probably advise a slightly larger hook, maybe a G hook or an H hook with DK weight. But for this project, and especially for the coaster and the embroidery that we're going to be doing later during that class, I really like this combination of an F hook. The resulting holes are a little bit tight, but that's okay. It's really perfect. I just grabbed a swatch here. It's really a perfect size, a perfect gauge for doing subsequent embroidery. To get started, the first thing we're going to do is make a slip knot. To do so, take your tail and place it over the body of your yarn, making a loop. So let's do that one more time. Here's your tail. Put it over your body like that. Go ahead and pick up that loop like this and put the body through the loop. Kind of looks like a lasso. And then what you're going to do is take your hook and insert it into the second loop that you made, like this. And then you'll be able to pull your tail nice and taut so that you have a slip knot on your crochet hook. One of the most important things to know when you begin crocheting is how to hold your yarn. How it's anchored in your left hand will drive your gauge. So it's important that you find a method that feels comfortable for you. I'd like to show you what I like to do, which is to take the yarn between my middle and ring fingers. So it looks, like may the force be with you, or whatever, nano, or whatever that motion is. Go ahead and open up your middle and ring fingers, place that yarn in between those two fingers, and then wave to your crochet hook. Put your middle and pointer fingers underneath, so it looks like this. Let me show you that one more time. Here it comes from your hook, between middle and ring. Wave to your hook, tuck your middle and pointer fingers under, and now you can grab a hold of that yarn that's coming from your slip knot. And this will really help you get a nice firm but comfortable grip on your yarn as you're making progress. You'll also notice that my pointer finger kind of plays the role of, it's like a sewing needle going up and down. This is where you control your tension and also pull more yarn to be available as you work. So this is a good configuration for me. If you prefer something else and you're able to do your crochet, then by all means rock on with what you've got. This is what works for me and yields a nice tension. And that's all that really matters, is that you are comfortable with your work and the resulting tension is good. The next thing we need to do is work 21 chain stitches. To work a chain, you'll put your hook underneath your yarn and then use the tip of your hook to pull the yarn through your slip knot. That's one chain. Let's do it again. Hook goes under the yarn, turn your hook so that it grabs your yarn and pull it through that next loop. There's two chains. Let's do it again. Hook under the yarn, rotate your hook so it grabs the yarn, pull that right through. There's your third chain. And you'll find that there is a little bit of a dance that your fingers do as you work this chain stitch. I like to use both of my hands to get this work done. So my hook goes under, but my yarn also comes over. It's like a nice conversation. Both sides are involved. And you just keep working like this until you have 21. Now, because I was yammering on there, I've kind of lost track of how many I have. And that's just fine. I'm gonna go until I think by eyeball I've got 21, but I'd like to show you how to count your chain stitches so that you know where you are should you put your work down and you wanna come back to it. Each of these little V's here counts as one stitch. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Oh, I did one too many. Not a problem. I'm going to go ahead and take out the loop that was on my hook, pull out that stitch. Here I am. I'm going to put that right back on my hook, and I'm ready to go. So just count those V's, and for this coaster project, you should have 21 of them in order to finish this project. Now that we've finished our chain stitches, I'd like to show you how to work that first row of single crochet. We're going to be skipping this chain here, the first one past your hook. We're going to skip that and work a single crochet into this loop that's down one from the one on your hook. So let me back out and show you that again. We're going to skip this one and put our hook into the one just below that. So it looks like this. And as before, go ahead and put your hook under your yarn, grab your yarn and pull it through that stitch you just picked up from your chain. Put your yarn over your hook again, rotate your hook down and pull it through both of those loops. And that's your first stitch of single crochet. Let's do another one. Here we are. We're going to put our hook into the back of that chain, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull it through both loops. And that is your repeat. So insert your crochet hook into the next stitch on your chain, grab your yarn and pull it through, and then pull your yarn through both loops on your hook. And I always think of my chain as looking kind of like a dinosaur. What is it, a brontosaurus that has all those ridges on its back? So you see that ridge here? That's where you want your hook to be going in. So you can always check yourself and make sure you're going into the right place. And you'll find you get a nice rhythm here. Pull your yarn through that little brontosaurus bump, grab your yarn and pull it through both loops. And you'll find that there are a number of ways to work that first row of single crochet. This is my preferred way of going about it for one simple reason. What's left is the pretty part of your chain. Do you see how that nice set of V's is on this side of my work as well as on the top of my work where I've worked each of those stitches? And what I'm going to do is just keep working straight across this chain row so that I will then have 20 stitches of single crochet coming off of my foundation chain. I've worked across all of the stitches on my chain except for this last one. I just wanted to show you what it would look like, because sometimes that last one can look a little wonky just because of your slip stitch to get started. But it needs to have a single crochet stitch worked into it as well. Now that we've finished our first row of single crochet, I want to show you how to count your stitches so that you feel comfortable knowing you've got the right number in your project. Each of these V's here counts as a stitch. So you would count each one of them, hopefully reaching 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And here's the 20th. It is actually this V right here. That V is your 20th stitch. Don't count this one on your crochet hook. It's this one right here. So I have 20 V's that I created off of my chain of 21 stitches. And the reason why that works is, remember when we got started, we skipped that first chain stitch. That's how we came up with 20 single crochet stitches from a chain of 21. We are now ready to work our next row of single crochet. So in order to do that, we need to lift our stitches up one level. Think of it as like this is our basement. We need to go up to the first floor by working one chain stitch. Now go ahead and turn your work around, and we're going to skip that chain that we just made, and go into the 20th V that we just counted across. So here is the stitch on our hook. We skipped the chain and we went under the 20th V, or the first stitch as we're going back this way. Under both of those V legs, grab our yarn and pull it through. Grab your yarn and pull it through both of those loops. All right, now here we are. Here's our next V stitch. So put your hook under both of those. Grab your yarn and pull it through. And you'll work like this all the way across all 20 of those V's that we just counted, maintaining 20 stitches. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go all the way across. I'll meet you at that end. I've worked across all of my stitches except for the last one, and I just wanted to show you what that corner will look like in case you're stymied by it here. This can be the hardest part of working crochet, is working those edges. So you see how there is a V there to be identified. That's where you want your hook to go in to work your last single crochet stitch. So pull the yarn through that last V, grab your yarn again and pull it through those 2 loops. And I'm not going to make you count out loud with me all 20 V's, but suffice to say, if you were to start here and count V's all the way across this top edge, this last one here underneath the loop that's on my hook, that would be my 20th. Now, if you're going to be taking the class with me next month at Espace Tricot in January of 2021, what I would like to encourage you to do at this point in time is to take a removable marker and place it on that little horizontal to your foundation or to your chain stitch edge. Go ahead and put a little marker right in there to indicate that this is the right side of your crochet. That's going to be helpful for us when we work our embroidery, because this is the side that will be facing us when we do all of our embroidery work. Now, as before, we're going to go ahead and do chain 1 to raise our stitches up 1 level. Turn your work around. Don't do anything here with the chain you just created. Go into the V of your last stitch and work 1 single crochet. And this is the pattern that you're going to be following for all of the rows for this swatch for the embroidery class. Just working single crochet stitches, 20 across, into the V's of the row below. When you've finished your 20th stitch, you work a chain 1, turn your work around and work 20 stitches again. And this is where I am going to show you what we're ultimately working on, as if it's like a pretend cooking show. I just happen to have one of these finished. So let me put this down and I'm going to show you. This is what all of those single crochets will look like. I think they're very beautiful just by themselves. We're of course going to embroider them in the class to make them even fancier, but I really love the simplicity of single crochet. Just like I love the simplicity of stockinette, this single crochet can be such a pretty canvas in and of itself. Okay, I've finished my rows of single crochet and I'm now ready to work my first corner of the border we're going to do, tidying up these edges here. I find that these chains that we work as we go from one row to the next look a little untidy. So we're gonna finish that off and work a border all the way around the perimeter of this swatch. But I just wanted to take a quick moment and show you how to count your rows to make sure you've done enough for the coaster class, the embroidery on single crochet class that I'm going to be teaching next month. With the right side facing you, meaning that here's your little marker you placed before, you can count these little circles. and count 12. That's how you'll know you'll have enough. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you'll work across with the right side facing you. And I want to show you how to work that first corner stitch. So I've worked 19 single crochet stitches. I want to work that 20th into this last space. And now what we're going to do is chain 2. 1, 2, and then work a single crochet back into that same space. So I'll put my hook here, pull my yarn through, and then pull the yarn through those 2 loops on my hook. And here's a nice corner for that last stitch. Okay, now what we're going to do is keep our work rotated now, and we're going to work 1 chain and a single crochet in our next full circle row here on the right side. So we've chained 1, we're going to put our hook here into the edge and work 1 single crochet. Let's do that again. We're going to chain 1, find that row, put our hook in, and work 1 single crochet. And that's going to be your pattern. You chain 1, find your next full row, work your single crochet, and you just keep going all the way down this row. And what we're essentially doing is we're working a single crochet to straddle that space between rows. So this part here that would be a little unattached, we're going to work a chain over that and then come right into here. Let me just pull back and show you how that looks. See, I think that's rather tidy compared to the unfinished edge here. Especially for a coaster, we want everything looking nice and neat. So a good corner and a good edge is what we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and carry on and meet you back down here in this corner and show you how to work our perimeter on the chain row. I'm now approaching the corner where my edge meets my chain cast on. What I'm going to do here, having finished my last single crochet, is I'm now going to chain 2 and find the first V of my chain cast on, which is right here. I'm going to work a single crochet into that. And I'm going to work a single crochet into each V that we created when we worked our chain to get started. You'll recall the pretty V's that were on the back of the Brontosaurus bumps that we worked our first row of single crochet into. We're now working single crochet into each of the V's all the way across. I'm going to pause here just for a moment to show you how nice that corner is. I think it's a nice counterpoint to the corner we created up here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish working all of my single crochets across my chain cast on, and I'll meet you back over here and show you how to turn that corner. All right, I finished working 1 single crochet into each of those chains when we got started, and here I am at the very first one. This is the first chain that we created after our slip knot. I'm going to work a single crochet into that. If your yarn ever fights you, just kind of be assertive and get that hook shoved right in. It's one of those times where shoving is actually good. You're the boss. Okay, so I've worked now all the way across all of my chains, and as before, I'm now going to chain 2 and then work a single crochet into my first row here. Now this might look familiar. We're going to chain 1, find our next row right here. And you may notice what I'm doing as I'm working the perimeter on this side of my coaster. See my tail that we had when we did our slip knot and got started? I'm holding that next to my crocheting, and I'm essentially weaving it in as I work each stitch. So there's my chain 1. I'm I'm going to hold my yarn parallel to my piece and work my single crochet, essentially trapping my tail against my work. I love efficiencies like that. Now, this is actually interesting. You see how that stitch is a little wonky? It's a little too big. It's because I was showing off. I was showing how I was weaving in my edge or my tail. Let's just go ahead and back that out. It's one of the things that I love about crochet. It's so easy to fix your mistakes. Just go ahead and unpick your stitches. Get yourself re-anchored. I finished with a chain. I'm ready now to work my single crochet. I picked back to a chain, so single crochet is next. So single crochet, chain, holding my tail right up against my work, and just staying in pattern, making everything look nice and tidy, while also weaving in my end. Do one more here, and then I'm going to pull out and show you what it looks like. Okay. So there's the border on this edge coming around from our chain cast on. And you'll see that tail just gets woven nice and tidy right into our stitching. So I think that's enough stitches. I actually have some scissors right here. At this point, I could even go ahead and give that end a trim. How many stitches did I work there? I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 single crochets. I think that's got enough stabilization to hold that tail in place. I'm going to go ahead and finish up, and I'll meet you back up here at this corner. All right, I finished my second to last stitch, so I'm going to chain 1, work a single crochet into that last row, and as before, I'm going to chain 2, rotate my piece, and find the first V of my last row of single crochet to finish my piece. Now, it may be tempting to try and get your needle to go into that. No. You want to go here into that V right there. That's going to be your first stitch of your last row of single crochet. So we've finished our 2 chains. We're going to skip over all this nonsense, and we're going to go right into here. You're going to feel like you've come home because you're back to just working straightforward single crochet all the way across this last row. Heading for home, finishing up and getting ready for some fun embroidery. As I said, I really love single crochet for its meditative qualities. It's so peaceful working on this particular stitch. I find that I get into some of my best making rhythms working on single crochet, especially knowing that I'm making such a pretty canvas for additional embellishment. I really love the way that the holes made by working single crochet flat become the perfect place to add additional embellishments like embroidery. So this is a fun little project to work on. Okay, here I am getting back to my corner. I'm going to go ahead and get to that first stitch that I worked in my corner there. I'm going to work a single crochet into that stitch. See, I'm having to be a little assertive to get my hook to fit in there. And that will round things out pretty nicely. So to fasten things off, go ahead and leave your hook in. Get your scissors and cut a tail, I don't know, about, what is that, 4 or 5 inches long? Right here, 4 or 5 inches long. Go ahead and give that a trim. Once you've cut your tail, go ahead and work 1 more chain to close off that loop. Give that a little tug. And here you have a very nice coaster ready to hold your beverage or those of friends or loved ones, and a perfect canvas for additional embroidery. You may notice that your piece gets a little curly sometimes. don't worry about that. Most of the embroidery that we're going to do is going to take that right out. But if you aren't going to embellish it, no worries at all. Just give it a good soaking or even a little bit of a tug here, and things will certainly start to settle down. I hope this has proven helpful, and I hope to see you at that class at Espace Tricot. Okay, I hope that proved useful to you. If there's anything that you want to see again, don't hesitate to consult those show notes down below to find the exact place where you might want to revisit some of those middle parts. Before I sign off today, I just want to say how much I enjoy working with everyone up at Espace Tricot. If you have the opportunity to go to the shop and see their wares and experience the environment, I can't tell you how much I encourage you to do that. My family and I found our way to Montreal for vacation a couple of summers ago, and when they saw how happy I was to be in that shop, there were some allegations that maybe we were in Montreal because I really wanted to go to Espace Tricot. And these are claims that I can neither confirm nor deny, but suffice to say, I was quite happy to have made my way there. So I just want to say thank you again to Melissa and Lisa for giving me the opportunity to teach through you all, and also to Naomi, who is their class coordinator there. I couldn't ask for a better partner to work with than Naomi. She's been amazing getting the classes set up. She is also a dyer in her own right. If you want to visit her site, go to humble_MTL on Instagram, and I'll put a thing here or there that shows what her Instagram handle is. She has a beautiful eye for color. I just recently ordered some skeins from her and couldn't be more delighted with what arrived. If you would like to have the exact yarn that I used to do these coasters, again, it's the Butterfly Mercerized DK that's for sale through Espace Tricot. They sent me this yarn and it arrived in 4 days. And so I don't know how they got everything through customs so quickly, but I love working with this yarn. And if you're looking for a DK cotton that is wonderful to crochet with, but also fabulous to embroider with, I can't say enough about this cotton. I think people who do embroider already are rolling their eyes saying, well, no duh, of course that's the case, but cotton is fantastic to embroider with because you can rip out things that you want to change, and that cotton stays just as crisp as it was when it first came out of the skein. So again, it's Butterfly DK. It's a wonderful yarn to work with. I had mine shipped to me from Espace Tricot. 4 days later, it was in my grubby little hands here in New York. So thank you again, everybody up at Espace Tricot. I can't wait to be there via Zoom teaching next month in January of 2021. And thank you all so much for watching the podcast today. If you enjoyed this, by all means, feel free to check out other videos that I've recorded, other tutorials sharing some of the knowledge that I have. And if you want to support me, the best thing to do is check out my classes and my website where I have patterns for sale. And I also put together note cards and images that feature yarn and flowers and whimsical flat lays. So take a peek at that. And thank you again, everybody, so much for joining in. I really love recording these and sharing some of the tricks that I have up my sleeve. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.